Okay, so you just paid $650 at a pharmacy counter, and what the pharmacist slides across is a slim cardboard box that weighs less than your phone. Inside are two plastic tubes, each about the size of a highlighter. You didn't ask for two. You can't buy one. We'll get to that. Each tube holds a spring, a needle, and 0.3 of a milligram of epinephrine. That's adrenaline, the same molecule your own body dumps into your bloodstream for free every time a car horn goes off behind you. If your kid has a peanut allergy, this box lives in her backpack. A second one lives in the nurse's office, a third in the kitchen drawer, and all of them expire in about a year, at which point you buy them all again. If a bee sting closes your throat 40 minutes from a hospital, this box is the entire difference between a bad afternoon and a eulogy. So you pay. Everybody pays. Millions of these prescriptions get filled every year, most for children, almost none ever used. And on the drive home, the math half settles in your head. It's a medical device after all. Precision engineered. It has to fire correctly through a pair of jeans in the shaking hands of a panicking stranger on the worst day of your life after 9 months rattling around a glove box through a Texas summer. Reliability like that must cost real money to build. That's the assumption. You paid for the medicine and for the machine that delivers it and for the certainty that both will work. Hold that thought. Here's the problem with the assumption. The medicine in the box costs about $1, not as a figure of speech. $1? The actual wholesale price of 0.3 of a milligram of epinephrine, a hormone first isolated in 1901 and off patent longer than your grandparents have been alive. Industry estimates put the injector around it at another $2 to $4 to build. The box, the label, the plastic carrier tube, call the entire physical object somewhere under $10, being generous. You paid $650, so this video is about the other $640, not in a vague way, in a specific way. By the end, you'll know who set this price, what she told Congress her company actually made on it, and the number her own slide deck admitted was going to companies that never touch the pen. You'll know why the box holds 2 pens instead of 1, why it expires in 18 months, why your kid's school suddenly stocked it in 2013, and why the same pen, off the same factory line, costs about $35 in London. And one thing up front, nothing in this story requires a villain twirling a mustache. Every company in the chain behaves exactly the way its incentives point. That's what makes it worth your next 18 minutes. This isn't really a story about one greedy drug maker. It's a diagram of how American drug pricing works, drawn in the shape of a pen. In 2007, this box cost about $100. Nothing inside it has changed since. Let's go find the other 550. Start with the object itself, because it has a better origin story than most medical devices. The EpiPen is a Cold War veteran. Its ancestor was a military auto-injector, a spring-loaded pen built in the 1970s so a soldier could slam nerve agent antidote through his own uniform mid-panic with one hand. An engineer named Sheldon Kaplan adapted the design for allergic reactions, and the FDA approved it in 1987. The spring is old technology. The needle is old technology. The drug is even older. Adrenaline was isolated in 1901, synthesized within a few years, and there is no patent on it. There hasn't been for the better part of a century. So what does the physical thing cost to make today? People from the injector industry put it at a few dollars. $1 for the drug, $2 to $4 for the device, $10 with the packaging. But we don't actually have to rely on estimates, because in 2016, the company that sells it filed its own numbers with Congress. Their cost of goods, manufacturing both pens, boxing them, everything paid to the factory, came to $69 per 2-pack. And here's a detail worth keeping for later. The company that sells the EpiPen doesn't make the EpiPen. Every single pen is built by Meridian Medical Technologies, a Pfizer subsidiary on a line near St. Louis that's been stamping them out since the 80s. The company whose name is on the scandal, Mylan, bought the marketing rights in 2007. It manufactures nothing. It priced everything. So hold the two numbers side by side. $70 on the seller's own books, $650 at the counter. That gap is not engineering. That gap is the product. Here's what the price did after Mylan bought those marketing rights. January 2007. A 2-pack lists for $94. By 2012, it's around $218. By 2014, $350. By 2015, $460. And in May 2016, it lands on $608.61, up nearly 550% in 9 years, a few points at a time, hike after hike, with the regularity of a utility bill. Nothing about the pen justified the staircase. No reformulation, no redesign, no new patent, no new factory. The price rose because each raise cleared, and each clearance proved the next one would clear too. And why did it clear? Because demand for this product doesn't negotiate. Food allergy diagnoses among American children climbed year after year, and the parent of an anaphylactic kid does not comparison shop their way out of a prescription. Doctors wrote EpiPen the way people say Kleenex. The brand was the category. Mylan spent heavily to keep it that way. Television ads, awareness campaigns, allergy advocacy groups, a marketing machine wrapped around a safety product. It worked spectacularly. By 2015, the EpiPen had become Mylan's first billion-dollar product, and by one Wall Street estimate, it was carrying roughly 40% of the company's operating profits. On a device Mylan didn't invent, doesn't build, and didn't meaningfully change. But a staircase that steep eventually runs into an obvious question. Who is actually paying these numbers? And this is where the story stops being about one aggressive company and becomes about the machine around it. Because the $608 list price, Mylan never saw most of it. In September 2016, under congressional pressure, Mylan published a breakdown of where a $608 EpiPen 2-pack actually goes. It remains one of the most useful documents in American drug pricing, mostly by accident. Of the $608, Mylan said it received $274. The other $334, 55 cents of every dollar on the sticker, went to the chain between the factory and your pharmacy counter. Pharmacy benefit managers, insurers, wholesalers, pharmacies, rebates, discounts, and fees collected by companies that never touch the pen. The load-bearing species in that chain is the pharmacy benefit manager, the PBM. Your insurer hires one to decide which drugs get covered and on what tier, and 3 of them control most of America's prescriptions. Here's the engine of this entire video. A PBM is paid in large part through rebates calculated as a percentage of a drug's list price. The higher the list, the bigger the rebate check. A drug maker that wants the good formulary slot, covered, low tier, low copay, bids for that slot in rebate dollars. And the cleanest way to bid more without earning less is to raise the sticker. So the list price isn't really a price. It's an opening position in a negotiation you're not in the room for. The PBM negotiates it down and keeps a slice of the discount it just created. The insurer books its share. Mylan nets its $274. Everyone at the table does fine. The only person denominated in the sticker is you. Your deductible, your coinsurance, and the cash price, if you're uninsured, are all calculated off the number that nobody in the room actually pays. If that sounds too cynical to be the real design, watch what happened when a competitor priced for the machine on purpose. AviQ is the EpiPen's slicker rival, a talking auto-injector the size of a credit card that literally speaks instructions out loud while you use it. Sanofi pulled it off the market in October 2015 over dosing concerns, and a small Virginia company called Kaleo brought it back on Valentine's Day 2017. List price, $4,500 per 2-pack. Not a typo, 7 times the EpiPen. But here was the offer underneath the sticker. For most commercially insured patients, out-of-pocket cost would be $0. Paying cash without insurance? $360. A $4,500 sticker on a product almost nobody pays $4,500 for. Because the sticker was never for patients. It was ammunition. A rebate budget big enough to buy formulary access from the PBMs, wrapped in a copay program generous enough that patients never feel the number. The patient sees $0. The PBM sees a percentage of $4,500. And the cost sinks quietly into everyone's premiums, where no individual family can find their own share of it. That is the pool the EpiPen swims in. And once you've seen it, Mylan's staircase reads differently. Every list price hike was also a bigger rebate bid, which is a large part of why the system digested 9 years of increases without ever spitting them out. The company's position to say no were collecting a percentage of yes. The pen didn't get more expensive because making it got harder. It got more expensive because 3 layers of the American payment chain earn in proportion to its sticker, and the only household in the chain writing a check was yours. Meanwhile, Mylan spent those same years quietly redesigning, not the pen, the purchase. August 2011, the single EpiPen is discontinued. From then on, America buys twin packs only. The official reason cited treatment guidelines. Anaphylaxis patients should have 2 doses within reach because 1 is sometimes not enough. The guideline is real medicine. The packaging decision also doubled the unit of sale overnight. Then there's the expiration date, about 18 months from manufacture, which in practice means roughly a year from the day you pick it up. Epinephrine genuinely degrades. The date is defensible, but run the arithmetic it produces. 1 child, a backpack pen, a school pen, a home pen. All replaced every year, used or not, and almost none are ever used. It's a subscription that renews on fear, and fear is the strongest auto-renew in commerce. Then, the schools themselves. In 2012, Mylan launched EpiPen for schools, seeding more than 65,000 American schools with over 700,000 free pens. In November 2013, Congress passed and President Obama signed the School Access to Emergency Epinephrine Act, nudging every state to stock epinephrine in its schools. Compassionate policy and, simultaneously, the best product placement in pharmaceutical history, a federal law steering institutions toward a market that one company owned. The New York Attorney General later opened an antitrust inquiry into the fine print because some of those school contracts barred buying a competitor's device. Mylan dropped the clause, and the competitors kept obligingly vanishing. Sanofi's Alvi-Q, recalled in 2015. Teva's True Generic, rejected by the FDA in 2016, delayed 2 full years. Going into the summer of 2016, Mylan held roughly 90% of a market that laws now required institutions to shop in. That's not a product anymore. That's terrain. The terrain got its reckoning on September 21, 2016, when Mylan's CEO, Heather Bresch, sat down in front of the House Oversight Committee. The optics were already radioactive. Between 2007 and 2015, while the EpiPen's price climbed roughly 500%, Bresch's total compensation climbed 671%, from about $2.5 million a year to just under $19 million. Her defense was the machine itself. Mylan, she testified, only received $274 of the $608. The rest went to the middleman. After costs, profit came to about $100 per 2-pack, $50 a pen, a modest, reasonable business. Except committee staff later found the arithmetic under the arithmetic. That $100 figure had a 37.5% U.S. tax rate quietly subtracted before it reached the microphone. Pre-tax, Mylan's own numbers put the profit around $160 per pack, 60% higher than the figure Congress was given. Lawmakers used words like misleading. The price did not move. 3 weeks later, the other shoe dropped. Mylan agreed to pay $465 million to settle Justice Department claims that it had classified the EpiPen, a branded product with no FDA-approved equivalent, as a generic inside Medicaid's rebate program. Generics owe Medicaid a 13% rebate. Brands owe 23.1 plus an inflation penalty aimed at exactly this kind of price staircase. The misclassification dated back to 1997. And the whistleblower who exposed it wasn't a patient group, it was a rival drug maker. And that December came the strangest move in the story. Mylan launched its own generic EpiPen. Same pen, same factory, same everything, half the list price. A company undercutting itself by 50% isn't charity. It's a confession about what the first number was. Now put the pen on a plane because this is where the whole structure snaps into focus. Same device, same Missouri factory, same 0.3 milligram of a 1901 hormone. In Britain, the National Health Service buys the 2-pack for about £53, $69 at 2016 exchange rates. Call it $35 a pen, paid by the buyer that matters. The patient hands over a flat prescription charge of about £10, and nothing at all in Scotland or Wales or for any child in the country. Walk it across the map. Retail, a pen runs around $60 to $70 in the UK, $75 to $100 in France, $80 to $125 in Canada. A 2016 survey found Americans paying up to 9 times more than other wealthy countries for the identical object. The pen crosses an ocean and loses 90% of its price without losing a single molecule. The reason isn't manufacturing, and it isn't generosity. It's who's holding the wallet. In Britain, there is one buyer. It negotiates once against the factory gate cost, and if the number is silly, it simply doesn't buy. There's no formulary slot to bid on, no PBM collecting a percentage of the sticker, no copay card anesthetizing the patient, no deductible denominated in a fictional list price. The negotiation happens in public one time against what the thing costs to make. In America, the negotiation happens continuously, in private, against the list price, and nearly everyone on the selling side of the table earns more when the list price rises. Same pen. 2 operating systems. One of them prices the object, the other prices what a parent would pay not to watch their child stop breathing. That difference runs about $500 a box. So, where did your $650 actually go? About $1 bought adrenaline, the only ingredient that ever saved anybody. Call it $70 on the seller's own books to build both pens, box them, and ship them off the St. Louis line. Roughly $300 on 2016's arithmetic went to the chain that moved the box its last mile. Benefit managers, insurers, wholesalers, pharmacies, each collecting a negotiated slice of a sticker that exists mainly to be negotiated against. And the balance stayed with a marketing company in a licensing deal, which spent 9 years discovering exactly how high a number can climb when the product is a child's airway and everyone approving the climb collects a percentage of it. None of it stayed hidden in the end. It all came out in a hearing, a settlement, and one accidentally honest slide deck. Nobody went to prison. The list price never came back down. The discounts just got more complicated. Today, the generic versions start around $300. A no-name injector goes for about $110 if you know to ask for it. And the branded box still runs $650 to $800, depending on the pharmacy. And through all of it, the pen itself still just works. That's the strange comfort at the bottom of the box. The engineering was never the problem. The spring fires, the needle lands, the hormone does exactly what it has done since 1901. The drug is a molecule your own body invented. The device is a Cold War pen with a safety cap. The price is the most American thing in the box.